Go on, you go first. What year did you get into the fellowship?
1962. It would be about, well, I can't remember the date I came in, but I can tell you it was 5 weeks after Easter, whenever Easter fell on that year. And that's all I can remember.
And which group did you go to?
Well, I came down to London to be anonymous, you see. Well, actually, I'd lost my job. And so I thought, well, I knew about AA. I'd made contacts with it before, but I hadn't been to a meeting. I'd just met a member. And I went along to the Sunday group. I got into King's Cross on the Sunday afternoon. I'd been given the weekend to get out. I got into King's Cross on the Sunday afternoon, and I thought, well, that's a bit of a do. I don't know where I'm going to go, where I'm going to sleep, or what I'm going to do. I've come to London for two things, one to get a job, and the other to join AA. As I can't get a job on a Sunday, I'd better join AA. So I rang up GSO. GSO, General Service Office, which was in Redcliffe Gardens then. And fortunately, there was telephone. They had London Intergroup did the telephone, and fortunately, they were on duty that Sunday afternoon. They told me to go to the London Club, which was a meeting place. Well, it was what it says, a club. It was in a mews somewhere at the back of Harvey Nichols, or somewhere around there. It was right in the centre of London. And it was a definite mews. It was quite a posh area. I don't know who it belonged to, but it was just one room they had, and another little room off like a kitchen. And a member of Al-Anon, whose husband had been in AA and died, she used to come and do all the serving, make the teas, make the sandwiches and everything. You know, just a sort of bit of gratitude for her husband's sobriety before he died. And so I went along there, and I chatted to several of them, but all I can remember is one old boy, it was Paddy, and I said to him, I don't want to drink. And it was quite truthful, I didn't. I'd had enough of it. All I wanted to do was get rid of this problem that I had. I wanted nothing more to do with it. And so I said to him, I'm terribly afraid that I might just go into a pub because I know no one in London. I shall be lonely here, and it will be a means of getting rid of my loneliness. And so he said, don't you worry, love. He says, once you're a member of AA, you need never be alone with your problem again. And if he'd have given me 500 quid, he couldn't have said it done any better. It just lifted. It was like that advert for... It's an aspirin or Anodin or something where it shows a ring round your head. It was just like that lifting off me. And, of course, that night, after I'd stopped for a couple of hours, I think there was only one meeting on a Sunday. Yes, there was a meeting later on a Sunday. I've forgotten now where it was. But I went off and I got a bed and breakfast for the night. And then next day I got myself a job. This is what you want to know. Yes, I went down to the Labour Exchange for hotel staff, you see. I was a hotel bookkeeper, receptionist. And, oh God, it was awful because they gave you all these long forms to fill in. And, sweat was pouring off me. I think, God, what should I put? So, reason for leaving. Oh, God, I can't remember what I put. One form I filled in, I gave the truth. I think I said something about I wanted a change or something like that. And they gave me about 3 or 4 jobs to go to, which I went for interviews. And God, it was awful going on the tube because I didn't know London very well. I'd been up shopping and that sort of thing. But to go and find a definite place, I mean, it was more or less beyond me. I seemed to spend half the day on the Circle line. And it was terribly hot. Beginning of May, and it suddenly turned very hot, as it does sometimes. and I was hotter still. I'd got quite warm things with me. And I did these 4 interviews, and each one said, I'll let you know at 6 o'clock. I suppose that taking out my references. And the first one that rang me up, of course, I accepted it. I thought, my God, I'll never hear from the others. I better take this one. And I took that, and then the other 3 rang up. And they were offering more money. I was a bit annoyed with myself at the time. But as it turned out, this job that I did take was so damned easy. It didn't require, it was just routine for me. I mean, it was, well, it was called an hotel. It was an hotel, really. It's in one of the, it's just by Baker Street Station. I can't just remember what. I can't remember what. Something Gardens, type of thing where about 2 big houses join together and then they shove another 2 on and they get a bar licence, they call it an hotel, that sort of thing. Well, of course, the conditions were absolutely diabolical. Well, they're nothing like what I'd been used to when I've always been in 4-star hotels. There's hadn't a blinking star, and not one in sight either. And we did shift duties. My first night that I could get off was Thursday, and the meeting on a Thursday night was Crawford Street. That was First London. And that was the first actual meeting, AA meeting I attended, and that was in, as I say, first in Crawford Street. And I know I'd offer a job trying to get in because I kept walking backwards and forwards. I thought, I don't want anybody to see me going in here. It was a big building. There were all sorts of rehearsals going on. There were some BBC rehearsals and that sort of thing. But, of course, I thought everybody knows I've come to join AA. And anyway, when I got down there were about, 50 or 60 folks. And I carefully sat right at the back. I thought, well, if anybody sees me, they'll think I've come to report or something. I didn't, and I carefully, honestly, died when I told you this job. I carefully sat next to a woman. I thought, well, I don't want them here to think I've come to click. But there were only about 4 women or 5 women there, and they're all these men. And I just sat there and I listened to this. There were all speaker meetings at that time. And I listened to this woman, and I thought, well, I know why she's been put up there. She's been drinking. They made her do that as a penance. You see, I still knew all these answers. And I collected a bit of literature. You couldn't get hardback books or anything like that. If you wanted anything beyond the paperback literature, you had to go to Redcliffe Gardens for it. And I collected some literature and so took it back and read it, and I couldn't make head nor tail of it. But I did, there was only one meeting a night in London at that time. And to get to it, you got to go right out to Streatham, out the other side to Finchley, and miles out. But that's the only way you could get a meeting. And so whichever night I was off duty, there were no daytime meetings, of course. Whichever night I was off duty, I had to sort of get out the old map and find the tube and get to this meeting place. So I never had a sponsor as such, but there were about 3 of us seemed to join together, always sort of drifted together. That was Molly. She came from Ireland, Northern Ireland. We did a lot in common besides AA. But she was very quiet, and I was very quiet. We were scared stiff to ask anybody anything. And nobody seemed to want to, beyond being matey, it seemed to offer to sponsor us or anything. So we decided that we would go through the 12 steps ourselves and see what we could make of those. But it was 6 months before it dawned on either of us that, you see, meetings used to finish up, the speaker would finish up saying so, and then I got onto the AA way of life, and I thought, my God, I wish they'd tell me what this is, because I just couldn't imagine what it was. I read the 12 steps, I saw the 12 traditions there, and I just dismissed them. I thought, oh, that's for those that's going on to this thing deeply. I want nothing at all to do with that. All I want to do is to find out how you stop drinking, because I've stopped many a time before. I stopped for 6 months before I came in, but I started drinking for about 5 weeks and then got the sack and came in. But I thought, well, this is all too highfalutin for me. I don't want this. I'll just find out what the answer is, and then the idea came to me that probably you got to do a probation, 6 months or something like that before they told you the secret, in case you went and told anybody else. I don't know how I got these crazy ideas, but you can imagine. So, well, I was a bit disappointed that there was nobody seemed to tell me anything beyond, so don't take that first drink. I thought, that's blooming common sense. I know that myself before I came here, not telling me how to avoid it. And so, as I said, they all seemed to finish up with some. Then I got onto the AA way of life, and it wasn't until we were at a meeting, actually it was at Redcliffe Gardens, there was this American there, a very, very tall, thin chap, and he'd told his story, how he'd come from the Bowery, and he was now a teacher, and he'd made it. And he was only middle 30s, I should say. But the main thing was, I got onto the AA way of life. I started on the 12 steps, and I thought, well, why the devil didn't they tell me that before? I spent 6 months trying to find out what it is. But, when you can't talk to anybody, well, it wasn't they wouldn't talk to me, it was me that wouldn't talk to them. I'd come with the idea that I was going to do it. If only they told me what it was, I was going to do it. I didn't want them to have the satisfaction of knowing that I'd had to rely upon them, because I'd always tried to rely upon myself all my life. And I thought, I've got to, nearly 50, and if I've got to ask somebody else to solve a problem for me, it's a bit of a bad look out. And so there was, as I say, there was Molly, and then there was a youngish chap who was an architect, actually, and he was quiet, was a young Billy. And we all palled together, and we just sort of stuck together and and we used to just meet up. And of course I made other friends, quite a lot of friends. There was a good bit of socialising. And as much one member used to give a sort of garden party in a big house down in Surrey or Kent or somewhere. And then at Christmas we always had this big dinner dance. But that was for the whole of London. It wasn't just for one group, it was for the whole of London was the dinner dance. And I can't remember any mini conventions. I'm sure there weren't any mini conventions. But there was, of course, the National Convention. And I remember, I think it must have been the second year I was there I went, and it was at Butlin's holiday camp at Clacton. Yeah. And I thought, I wonder if anybody's here from Leeds. I would like to see somebody from Leeds. I wonder if I'd contacted Morris when I was up in Leeds. He was the member that I'd met. And I don't know, somehow I thought, well, I don't know, they wouldn't come all that way for this. I'm sure they wouldn't. And I didn't do anything about it, but as it happened, I've talked afterwards to him, he was down there at it. Because how I remember it very well, I could pinpoint it. They had outside speakers then, besides the AA and Al-Anon. And one of them was Dr. Soper. He's the head of the Methodist Church. Yes, it's Lord Soper now. Yes. And he very much impressed me. Well, everything impressed me, but I mean, he was so sincere. And then there was someone from the Mission for Seamen. I can't remember anymore. But I remember those two quite clearly.
Did they talk about their association with it?
Yes. Well, you see, Dr. Soper, as he was then, he ran 2 rehab houses in London, St. Luke's for men and St. Mary's for the women. And they were beautifully appointed. I knew the matron of St. Mary's. She used to come to the open meetings, and they were very well appointed. That was somewhere out Streatham way.
So when did you come back to Leeds?
After 3.5 years down in London.
63 then?
Pardon?
1963.
No, after I joined in 62.
62.
So it'd be 65 to 66, I should think. Sometime, yes, about then, yes. And
Was the first Thursday meeting already in operation then?
oh yes. And actually, I had been to that first Thursday before I came back to stay in Leeds. I used to come home for the weekends, long weekends, you see, because I only stuck that first job for about 6 months. And looking at the Just for Today card, it says you've got to be polite and whatnot. So I thought, well, I'll go back and I'll tell that lass at the Labour Exchange it isn't just what I want, and I'll thank her very much for what she's done. And of course she said, oh, well, if anything better turns up, I knew it wasn't what you wanted, I'll let you know. I thought, oh, she's got rid of me like that. And fortunately, she rang me up after about 6 months, and I got a wonderful job, one of the best I'd ever had in my life. And so I had happy years after that, you see. I had 3 very happy years and 6 months of misery. But I was only too thankful I got a job. I really thought half of, every manager in London knew why I was there looking for a job. I thought I'll never get anything. But I came, so when it was my long weekend off, I'd often saved a day or two. And I used to come up on the Thursday night, catch the train up. And I used to tell the family, you see, I was catching a later train. And I would go to the meeting here, but I never saw Morris. He was never there. I met John P. and Jim from York, and a few. I can't remember how many more there, because it was just the odd one night that I would get there. And then, of course, when I came back, I knew exactly where to go. And there was still only the one meeting in Leeds then. And that first meeting I went to, it was in the little room behind the BBC. There were 2 rooms. One was fairly large and the other was smaller. And we were in the small room. And I remember looking at this bloke. Oh, I couldn't find him. I was a bit late, and so I didn't know who was who. But there was somebody in the chair, and when he'd finished, I was sat in front. There were only about probably 6 of us or 8 or something like that, and he said to me, "And who are you?" I'll never forget it. And so I said, "Are you Morris?"
Oh, Morris, he always introduces himself like that.
So I told him, you see, how we'd met before, how he'd come out to see me when I'd rang up. And he, and there was Elvina. She was from Sherborne, or something. I think she lived at Sherborne at the time. There was Rita from Bradford, and myself, Johnny Mack, I think, yes, Johnny Mack, Jim from York, Morris, as I say, and then I can't. There's a chap that had a garage, I can't remember, a big garage out here. Can't remember his name. No, it doesn't matter, because he's gone now. And so later on, a little later on, we moved into the larger room because Al-Anon had started by this time. You see, there was Peter T's wife, Olga, Monica, Morris's wife, and Wilf, that was Elvina's husband, and they used to meet in his car, the start of the Al-Anon meetings, and then they moved into this little room and we moved into the big room.
This was behind the BBC?
Behind the BBC, yes. And my God, I mean, you got to be really tough to stick it out there, because the walls were so distemper that was all peeling off, and there were about 3 or 4 old upright pianos there. There was a little tiny fireplace that I used to bring a bucket of coal, and the bucket was no bigger than that. And you all huddled round this little fireplace. And I know the only time we were ever really warm was when one chappie, he'd lost his job and he'd having to sell his house. And he was so mad about everything that he chopped down some trees in his garden and he brought all these logs, and that's the only time we were ever warm in it. But you got to be really want to stick it out, because you certainly didn't get your comfort there.
What type of meeting was it? Was it a
speaker?
A speaker meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's always been a speaker meeting, a Thursday meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, did you all take it in turns to be chairman and?
No, I got it for the first. Well, I got there. I mean, I suppose being daft, I got it for about 3 years or over 3 years.
Chairman?
Yeah. You were chairman, secretary, and everything.
For the Thursday meeting, you did it for a year when I joined. You did a year.
Yeah, but I did it a lot longer than that. Then somebody else took it and he gave it up after about a couple of months, and I got it back again. It seems to be the story of my life, I think. And yes, we did. No, we've never done it any other way on a Thursday. And I can't remember what year we.
Did you all take it in turns to share then?
Well, it's just. Well, you had to find a speaker. You could only go out as far as York or Bradford. Well, Otley, there was only John P. Many a time if you went out to Otley meeting, he was sat there on his own. Don't think there are any more. Oh, Huddersfield started about this time. Yes, I remember Huddersfield meeting because someone used to run a club there called the White Rose Club, and that was for alcoholics.
What about the step meeting, Alice?
Oh, that didn't start for a good bit after. That was when we moved to 229.
No, the step meeting was at the BBC because I went to
Was
the step
it?
meeting at the BBC, yes.
What night was that?
Monday.
Monday.
And I was
Oh, yes.
I was in AA 6 weeks when they decided they'd have to move from the BBC. No, I'd been to, well, half a dozen step meetings there. So I don't know how, it must have been going before then.
Yes. And when was that? What year was that?
76.
76. Yes. I didn't remember the step meeting. I was at the BBC.
Because I went to 2.
Yes.
But remember the first one I went to was step 12.
Yes, I think they first started that one. They were going to run it on the Akron idea, you know, and have the Lord's Prayer at the end. But that didn't go down well. They soon had to ditch that. Yes, I remember that now.
Yeah.
And when did we move to 229?
76.
76?
Yeah, because I'd been in, let's say 6 weeks.
Pardon?
And I'd been in 6 weeks and they started discussing they'd have to move the meeting and decided to go up to 229.
Yes.
And then Gabriel and Nora got the room at the bottom of Clarendon Road.
Yes.
Spiritualist Church.
The Spiritualist Church, yes.
Yeah, so they moved Monday and Thursday up to 229. And then they got a little room at Clarendon for Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we had 2 meetings on a Thursday then.
Yes, we had 2 meetings on a Thursday then.
And just the one on a Tuesday, one on a Monday.
Yes. But I mean, even then, you couldn't get a meeting every night of the week, could you?
No, there was a meeting at Sheffield, wasn't there, on a Wednesday?
Yes, Sheffield was, and there was Bradford Friday.
Dewsbury on a Thursday.
Dewsbury came quite a lot.
I went to Dewsbury.
Did you?
Yeah, and there was just Patrick and Tony in Dewsbury.
Yes.
And this was around 76.
76.
76, yes. Yeah. And we also started a Young People's on a Saturday night. And nobody over 40 was allowed to go to that. Because I remember Patrick was a bit sticky about it because he was just 40, but we had him in, yeah. But the Young People's didn't last an awful long time. Maybe 4 or 5 years.
Oh yes, because that was John, wasn't it, and Denise. They formed that group, didn't they?
Yes, and Mike from Bolton.
Oh yes, that's
Mike
right.
from Bolton.
I'd forgotten him. Yes, and John and Denise moved to the Lake District. So then it seemed to fold after that. Nobody wanted to take it on.
How did you come across Darcy?
Well, I'd only been home a very short while, a couple of months, and one night there was a knock on the door and I answered it. This chap said, "My name's Darcy, and Morris has told me that you'll go with me to a 12-step call." That's how I met Darcy. I'd never met him before. And we went to see this woman. And I think, I met him several times on a Sunday. I used to go over to York on a Sunday, if I could get a lift over, because of course I was home looking after my parents and it was a bit difficult getting away. But I used to see him over there, and I don't know when he died. I didn't seem to be in very long before he died. But he was very friendly with Noel from York.
Yeah.
Was Darcy the one that had the baker's shops?
Yeah, he had the bakery, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Mm.
Where would that first meeting be then, Alice? That
Where?
said was it Gled Howe? Was it Gled Howe? The address?
Well, nobody seems quite sure where he had, because it's several shops in Leeds, and so the only one who would know exactly where it. I don't know even if Jim from York knew. He might have done.
Yeah.
Yes, I think he'd be about the only one who would know.
Yeah.
And he's written something for the archives, hasn't he? Yeah, well, it's probably in that. But from the Leeds Thursday, they started the Intergroup, West Riding Intergroup, and we went.
When would that be about?
Jesus. Well, I'll tell you what, if you can find out when you see, we had one national convention, a yearly convention, and it was always down south, and so up north said, "So, well, isn't it time you came up here?" Then they got the idea, well, we'll split it, we'll have a northern and a southern convention. And I know the Intergroup hadn't been going long when we did the first northern convention up here.
Were you treasurer of that first?
I was treasurer and receptionist for that, yes.
No, of the first Intergroup?
No. I can't remember who was treasurer.
I was just wondering, because if we've still got the original ledger, the first date would be in it, you say?
Yes.
But I don't know, you started that ledger, didn't you, Alice? The one that's being used at the moment. The Intergroup one.
Yes, oh yes,
You started it, you passed it on to me.
Yes.
And I passed it on to Chris.
Yes, that's right.
Stuart's got it.
Yes.
So there'll be information in that, really, won't there?
Well, there would be. But that would be that's got the convention figures in and that.
So the West Riding ran the Northern Convention?
the first Northern Convention was run by the West Riding, and the West Riding Intergroup, it covered as far up as Newcastle, right out to Goole and Hull, down to Chesterfield, Sheffield, Bradford, and all in between, Darlington. We covered all that. And you see, we had a meeting every 3 months, so it meant once it was in Leeds, next time it was up in Newcastle, next time it was in Hull. And then the first to get away, I think, was Newcastle. They formed their own Northern, whatever they call it, Northern, is it?
Intergroup.
Northern Intergroup, yes. That's right. And then the others just split off automatically. The last one to go was Bradford, and they were the South Yorkshire Intergroup. Yes, but the first Northern Convention was at the Grand at Scarborough.
Who was involved with you in that?
There was John P, Morris, John G. John G's now dead. There must have been, there were only about 6 of us on the committee. There must have been 2 from the other areas. I can't remember who they were. But we, as I say, we took the whole of the Grand Hotel. And it was privately owned then, it wasn't Billy Butlin's. And they gave us wonderful cooperation, marvellous cooperation. And the first year, I think it was the first year, oh yes, it was the first year, they came up from down south in loads, you know, thinking they'll make a real mess of it, those up north, you know, what do they know, sort of thing. Yes, and I thought, oh my God, if anything goes wrong, and my pals had formed down in London, I thought, oh, this is the right place I've come to, and especially as I was doing the damn thing, well, my little bit anyhow. But it was a marvellous weekend. And, of course, everybody thought it was wonderful, because the Grand was something when it was the Grand. Yeah. And to make it...
How many people did you have, do you remember?
I don't... I mean, 200 odd. It was full. I should imagine. But that Sunday morning when we were having breakfast, a glorious sunny day, the lifeboat went out, and everybody was thrilled to bits, because the dining room looks over the sea. They thought it was an absolutely wonderful place, and at the end of the convention, I gave the treasurer for GSO a cheque for £1,000. Now that's in 71. You can check when we split up. I gave him that, and then I thought, well, I'll keep back a couple of £100 because you never know what comes up. And I sent down another £200 or £300, I can't remember which. Yes. It was pro rata, it was a hell of a lot of money, was that. And then we did it second year, the same committee, at the Grand at Scarborough. We might have done it 3 years, I can't remember. It was certainly 2. And then we did and then after that we went, there was some doubt about, they were selling it, and there was a group of businessmen were buying it. There's some doubt about whether the deal will go through, and so we couldn't risk it to go back there again. And we went over to the Norbeck, and we ran 2 there, West Riding Intergroup. We did the first ones at Blackpool.
Teaching them Lancastrians, I think I do.
Yes, and then they took it over, and they've done it ever since.
But they're now appealing for people from other side of the Pennines, aren't they, to come across and help with it.
I believe so, yes.
I haven't heard that.
They've asked Christine, haven't they, to do...
Yeah.
Well, the name's gone forward.
Yeah.
To be secretary or something.
Yeah.
On it, yes.
There's a lot of work involved in it.
Oh, I bet there is, yeah.
Oh, there is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of clearing up after. But I always remember the ones at Scarborough, the most enjoyable ones I've ever been to. And you know, it's a funny thing, Joe, my very first job in hotels, I never worked in anywhere else but hotels. After I left commercial school, I went straight into them. It was at the Grand at Scarborough. And when I left to take another job, and I'd only be about 18 and a half then, by God, I never thought next time I'd go in there would be a secretary of the Intergroup for AA.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it wasn't formed
So
then.
how many did they have on in Scarborough?
What?
Conventions?
There were 2 or 3, I can't remember, Sandra, exactly. And we certainly did 2 at Blackpool. I don't think we did any more than 2, we might have done. And then after that, of course, the others did it. Who does it? Blackpool, don't they? The North.
Can we go back to when you came back up north? In Leeds, in the West Riding, in 65, 66.
Yes.
How many other meetings were there in the area?
Well, Alvina started the Wakefield one. I'm not sure when that was, but that was a Monday night. Tuesday night was Otley, and Otley is one of the oldest groups. Wednesday was Dewsbury.
Yes.
Thursday was ours, and Friday was Bradford. Saturday, Huddersfield, and there wouldn't be one on Sunday, York. Those all eventually came on, but they were all about that time.
The one in Sheffield, which was on a Wednesday, did that come later?
I can't. There was some. Yes.
It was very anonymous.
I was going to say there was some.
Yes. It was sort of
some confusion.
You got taken down a few
Yes,
hours.
yes, you're blindfolded and whatnot.
Yes,
it really was anonymous, was that?
And wasn't it Peter who took the cloak off it or something? You know, he went down. You know, I don't really know. Peter will probably tell us about that.
Yeah.
But that was going when I joined. I just wondered if it was going in the.
Well, we seemed to suddenly discover it. It sprung up. Well, as you say, it was anonymous. And all of a sudden we discovered it. And they used to come up they joined Intergroup. Yes, I remember them because I remember one girl in particular.
I remember Tam, I think they called her from Sheffield.
Yes. Was that the actress?
That was a man.
Oh, Tam. Oh, is it? Oh.
Don't ask me what his full name was.
Oh, this one, Lily Moore, that's it. Yeah, she was.
Yes, I've heard of the Lily Moore.
Yeah, that's right.
So, in the late 60s, what were you doing for 12-step work, PI work? Were you doing it as an individual group?
Yes. Well, there was no PI. Intergroup wasn't so organised as much as that. It was just
sticking labels
on. Yes, they had some labels they used to stick in telephone boxes. And it said something like, "Have you a drink problem? Ring," and then it was sent. It was St George's Crypt, because that's where I rang when I came to Leeds. And I put the phone down and I thought, my God, it's never as bad as that. And, and I don't know how I got to Morris, because I must have got the St George's Crypt number again and they either put me through or something.
So was it just somebody who manned the phone in St George's?
Well, of course, that's... yes, they have their own offices, St George's Crypt. It's always been well organised down there for charity work and that. I mean, especially with the crypt, you see, that was going during the war. Because remember, Wilfred Pickles down there. Yeah, he went down. I used to go round and interview folks. Yeah. And he went down there.
What Workers' Playtime was it?
No, I don't know what he was called. No. Aye. And then I suppose we transferred it to the, I suppose, Samaritans. I don't know how long the Samaritans have been going.
Well, I was certainly there when I joined.
Were they?
Mm.
Yes.
Samaritans.
Well, it must have been transferred from St George's Crypt to the Samaritans.
So for the most part, how did people become aware of AA in the late 60s?
Well, in the same way as we had done before it. You'd see an article in some paper or other, or just by one member talking to someone who might have a problem.
Mm.
Oh, it's as loose as that.
Yeah.
We didn't go around, we often used to have these little conferences amongst ourselves. How can we get more members, and rub our hands and worry and wonder. And we never seemed to come to any concrete solution. We think, well, we'd better run around the infirmary, and we never got down to PI, organised PI or anything like that.
PI when I came in.
No, there was no PIs.
10 years
It's
after
relative, yes.
I can't even remember there being school talks, because I certainly can't remember.
No,
remember
no,
them
there
saying,
weren't.
Would you like to come on a school talk?
No.
I think that came even later still,
Yes.
didn't it?
Yes, it all came later. Actually, when they
Lots of
started
more.
with the intergroups, it got organised from there. You see, GSOs, I suppose it was literature from GSOs suggesting how you could run them. Because the officers in the intergroup, there are many more now than ever there were when it first started.
So at Leeds' first Thursday group, were the group conscience meetings?
Oh Lord, no.
Were there?
We never heard of
My
them.
group conscience meeting, still a big book started a group conscience meeting, and George introduced it.
Well, it was. Well, no. It was suggested, wasn't it? By didn't it come from
I
conference?
don't know where it came
Yes.
from, but George suddenly said we'll have this group conscience meeting.
Yes.
So you've
Yes.
got a definite date there with a big group, and then we all sat round and discussed all the who had the resentment over doing the washing up.
Yes.
Mm.
And that's how that.
So
Yes.
weren't the group conscience meetings at 229 and Clarendon
No,
Road?
no, never heard of them.
No.
It's something that
Yeah.
no, you just saw.
And then from that one at the big book, then other people sort of got the idea, and we did it on separate nights, but a lot of groups had it on, say, half an hour before.
Yes, I think it was something that came through from convention, though.
Yeah, from conference.
From conference, yes.
Yes.
George.
Oh, I don't mean George will
No,
have his own
but
head,
he can.
but being well read and how he goes into things.
Yes.
He was the one that suggested it. Probably he was the first one to.
Conference suggests
Well,
these things.
who decided then who would go to intergroup and who decided who would go to conference?
But there were only so many, Joe, weren't there?
Yes. Who would go to intergroup? Who would be the intergroup rep?
Well, yeah.
As they do now. At your group, we'd just say we want an intergroup rep, and there'd be only about 6 of us. Somebody would give you a shove and you went.
Yeah, but that really is a very embryonic type of group conscience meeting, isn't it, really?
Oh, no.
There used to be like we have any announcements.
Yes, it just came out like
Oh.
that.
And they
Yes,
say,
and say we want an
we
intergroup.
need a new
Yeah.
treasurer, or we need a new.
Yes.
Will anybody go to intergroup? And somebody would say, "Oh, I'll go. I'm not doing.
I'm not doing anything
I'm
on
not
Sunday."
doing anything. And there was no
Yes.
guidelines or anything. So,
Yeah.
And that's. I mean, I can remember.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised.
Aye.
And there was at this time, we've got all these rotas going on, haven't we? I mean,
Yeah.
you did the lots. You really did. There was no hogging jobs because there was nobody else to do them.
No, it's never else.
You used to open up and take the literature and the tea and the sugar and set set it all up.
Yes, it was like a large meeting, that was all, wasn't it?
Yeah, meeting or a group, wasn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
Yeah. And there was only so many, weren't there? There was only so many people that would do the jobs anyway. So you always
Yes,
switched
it almost
jobs-
felt like everything else to the same
switched
folks.
jobs between you,
Yes.
you know.
Good, right.
Well, you did the treasurer last time, so you could be the secretary, yeah?
So you just, when did you decide, you mentioned this before, when did you decide to move to Clarendon Road?
76.
76?
We got
Yes,
to-
when we went to 229. Yes.
So we had
Yes,
the-
because the meetings.
we
Oh,
had
is it?
the Monday and Thursday went up to 229, and they got Tuesday and Thursday down at Clarendon initially. But later on, they got the Saturday, which became the Young People's.
Ah, yeah.
And then we lost Clarendon Road, didn't we?
Yes.
She said we couldn't have it anymore because she was going to store papers down there. And with us smoking and that, it was a fire risk. So we
Yes.
then got more rooms at 229, and then at that point, every meeting was in 229. They were all under
Yes.
one roof. All
Yes.
these meetings.
So
All
that was
these
Monday,
meetings.
Tuesday and Thursday?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday.
But the Thursday from Clarendon, because there was already one
Yeah.
on the Thursday, became the Friday meeting, which is now St James's. And then a bit later, Nora opened what they called a beginners group, which was on the Wednesday, which is now the Wednesday at the Mount. That was the beginners group.
Well, yes, when we left 229, you know, I mean, when we were there, we got blamed for everything. If anything was pinched, there were all sorts of other meetings going on. There were the Cyrenians there were Red Cross, there was everything. A lot of rooms there are there. And if anything went wrong, it was always AA. Well, of course, we'd only been left for about a week or two. Blooming place set on fire. Thank God we were out.
What happened? You know, that's a bit I can't remember. But when we lost the premises of 229,
Yeah.
did all the groups, you know, say it was Tuesday group, did they go looking for a room of their own like they found, or had they all started to pull away before that? I can't remember.
Of course, Thursday we went down there. Tuesday, that's Street Lane, isn't it?
What year was about this then when you moved from 229?